Hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of Splitting Pixels. You join us in the middle of a fit of giggles, it seems.
I don't know what it means. I still don't understand.
Let's introduce ourselves for the first
Actually,
time.
don't Google it because I'm worried about what might come up if you Google it. For fuck's sake.
So we've started this episode with a bit of a mystery as well. No one will ever know what we're talking about, and that's probably for the best.
Simon.
So Sophia had suggested that we all introduce ourselves again as we kind of glided past it at the very start of episode 1. So I'll start. I'm Ross. We have Alice.
I'm Sophia.
No, don't do this. It's going to get confusing.
Sophia.
No, Alice is the Scottish one and Sophia's the English one, okay?
Mildly Scottish, I think.
Sure, but you're more Scottish than I am.
Okay. Moving on.
Also known as Sassy Butts.
Yes. Collectively known as the Sassy Butts.
Yep.
We'll be doing t-shirts and everything.
We have a Team Rocket style theme tune now.
Yep, we do.
I'm very excited about it.
Let's get on with the podcast.
Who are you?
And we had some guy crept into the office.
He's got a panda t-shirt. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be good for our audio podcast. We have Matt rounding out the team as well.
Matt, speak so your voice can go with the name.
Hi. If you're pressuring me to do this, I can't do it.
Yes, we are pressuring Matthew into speaking in this audio podcast.
What noises do pandas make?
They kind of go like...
You're welcome
squeaky.
for that.
Squeaky.
So I've recently been thinking about. Oh yeah. It's
Oh yeah.
I've recently been thinking about Macho Man Randy Savage, and latterly about how I have come to essentially blame my mother for being the colossal nerd that I am. Basically, I just don't think I would have the same interests as I do just now if it wasn't for the fact that my mother is also a colossal nerd. I was wondering if any of you guys have kind of felt the same thing, attributing maybe some nerdy pastimes to your parents.
No. I'll have a think when everyone's talking, but to be honest, when I speak to my mum about what I do now and how I like games and stuff, her response is generally just like, I have no idea about any of that.
So
she used to play Professor Layton on her DS, but
So she had a DS. That's cool.
Yeah, because she wanted the brain training and stuff, and she used that when that was big. But
my mum did that as well.
But that was I was already a geek by the time that came around. If anything, that was more me influencing my mum.
Yeah, I mean, what about movies or things like that?
My mum's favourite genre of movie is cheesy monster horror type thing, like Sharknado.
What? Who's wow?
Lake Placid is up there, and to be honest, Lake Placid is amazing.
In a funny kind of
it's as a comedy.
So thing. Bad it's good kind of thing.
Yeah, and Sharktopus is another good one. Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, those sort of things.
See, as a fighting game, that sounds like fun. I can imagine
Does
that being
it?
yeah.
You need more buttons for all the arms that you have.
Oh my god! Imagine if it was like Quap Controls,
yeah,
but with an octopus, and you're just flailing
so
the tentacles.
1 to 8, and you're just kind of playing it like a tiny piano.
Okay, well, we need to cut that out of the audio because we're stealing that.
Yeah. Copyright.
Think Mount My Friends, but with octopus and
you're just slapping people with the tentacles. Right, patent pending.
Patent pending. Did I say Mount My Friends? Oh no. Freudian. Oh no.
Oh, we know what Matt's doing later.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of maybe playing it with a VR headset.
Where you're the octopus.
And haptic gloves. So you just actually are just standing there flailing around.
That sounds dangerous. Someone's going to lose an eye.
Oh yeah, or maybe with just a Wiimote or something.
Yeah. Bring back the Wii.
Yeah. So wow. So that definitely sounds like your. It almost sounds like your mum ironically enjoys movies. like exclusively.
Pretty much it. Like she's just really into comedy and horror. That's pretty much it. And I guess I couldn't think of where my geekiness came from. Like I guess Harry Potter was kind of the start of it when I was like 7 or 8, like starting to read Harry Potter books, and then it kind of grew from there.
Okay, that makes sense, I suppose.
Because I just got into, like, to be honest, as a child, I was more into books than I was into games because games are expensive.
Well, that's true.
Like,
kids don't know they're born these days.
Yeah, like, and I feel it's kind of almost rude when people are like, "Oh, you haven't played this video game?" And it's like, yeah, because it was fucking expensive.
It was 60.
That's why
it was 60 quid.
Video game. I read a book instead. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, like I was just more into reading, and then once I started to like have friends who would have games, I'd go over there, play those, and then yeah, it just evolved. And that
actually gives us a pretty cool balance, because I suppose I always assumed that people's parents influence that part of them quite a lot.
No, my mum and my sisters are all completely different to me. Like quite just I don't know, into watching TV and girly stuff, and I was never
more kind of mainstream interests.
Watching TV,
yeah,
yeah. EastEnders, that sort of thing.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I love my family. Don't get me wrong. I'm just very different to them, and we all know that I'm different. It's not like I'm a secret. So.
I love my family, but
to be honest, I think that's almost universal. Where you say, "I love my family, but
they're annoying as hell."
Yeah, I think that's almost universal. Love you, Mum. So, Alice, what about you? Would you say that your parents have influenced you into being a nerd? Or?
Almost entirely my stepdad's fault.
Okay.
However, when I was little and we still lived at my nanny's house, I have 40 cousins.
Is this the granny who's a witch?
No.
Okay.
Granny Weatherwax.
This is the one who had 8 children who had 8 children.
Oh wow, okay.
So
cool. Wait, each child had 8 children?
Yeah.
So surely
almost all of them.
Seventh child. That's how wizards are made.
Like 60.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so,
I'm doing maths.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of black magic in my no. So obviously, everyone would get dropped off at Nanny's house for an eternity of sandwiches and cakes.
Okay.
And half of them were guys who wanted to play video games. So, I grew up watching my cousin James, I think, play one of them. One of the many cousins that I have playing Final Fantasy. One of the Final Fantasies.
Oh, right,
one of the many Final Fantasies. Which is fun when you're a kid watching giant chickens race around.
Yeah. So that
was the main thing, racing chickens.
Yeah.
And then when my mum married my stepdad, we then had every console in existence, basically.
That's an inheritance right there. That's not bad.
So I then, from that point on, grew up watching my stepdad stab people with swords and fight dinosaurs.
In game,
yeah.
And then just to relax, you'd go and play video games.
But no, Tomb Raider and Tekken and shit like that.
Awesome.
So then I grew up to be a violent child who wanted toy swords all the time.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And obviously my stepdad's a Trekkie and a Star Wars fan and everything.
What is the name of a Star Wars fan? Is it just Star Wars fan?
Yeah.
Or a Jedi, maybe?
Warzy.
Trekkie
and a Warzy. I don't know.
Let's go with it, sure.
Yeah. So what about you, Matt? Because you grew up in the countryside.
I did. Wild.
So was it because my girlfriend grew up in a very close to where you grew up. So I think her influence and why she became a nerd isn't because of her parents, but it's because there was nothing to do. If it was cold outside or raining or whatever, you had to entertain yourself.
Well, yeah. I've been racking my brains while you guys have been talking. That's why I've had this perplexed look on my face more than normal.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was constipation, I'll be honest.
Aside from that, I was trying to think of what it was. I'm child number 4 of 4, and I guess I would actually have to attribute it to my brother, who's the eldest, and my sisters, because I think I said in episode 1 of the podcast that my sister bought our first console, a NES. But my brother obviously I share a room with my brother, and I have 2 sisters, so obviously he was the one I had most in common with, yeah. And we would just play. He's just as immature as I am, so we would play. There's only 5 years separating all of us, so we would all play together and make cardboard box caves for our turtle figures or whatever, our He-Man toys and things like that, and we would always just play together.
That's adorable.
And it was awesome. I have vivid memories of my brother making the turtle sewer layer with like flaps open up. Oh man,
I had a similar thing for Tracy Island from the Thunderbirds.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember Blue Peter did a special.
I was going to say, wasn't that Blue Peter?
The classic.
Blue Peter did a special, and it was all like toilet roll holders
and plastic bottles from juice and stuff.
And yogurt pots. I mean, everything was done with, and I'd never heard the phrase until I watched like Art Attack or whatever, but it was sticky back plastic.
Yeah.
You mean sellotape?
Exactly. I was perplexed of what did that mean.
Well, I think it's the brand. Like sellotape is a brand.
Yeah.
So maybe they got in trouble for using. So they had to use the phrase sticky back plastic and PVA glue and yogurt pots. Like there must have been parents with lactose intolerant kids who were just like, "Why do you want it?"
Yeah, well,
I want to make Tracy Island.
A great one though, if you're playing with these action figures, the nets you get your oranges in for trapdoors for the toys to fall into. Fantastic.
There's a little tip from Matt. You should do a blog just like about like tips for making
homemade castle grayscale.
Just like a really like a QVC style shopping channel.
Just like photos of Matt holding up the cardboard boxes. No, fucking
no.
That'll be great.
I would totally film that.
Right,
here's one I made earlier.
You heard it here first. It's happening.
I genuinely would, and I think that's also where I get my love of craftiness and trying to make things. Not craftiness, but craft and making things.
Craftiness is right, as long as you're not making like a club to hit someone with.
Like evil craftiness.
Well, that's true.
Just making things is fun, and
so that's how you became a geek, you think, just from like, what cartoons
I don't know. I don't know what a geek. I don't like labels. No,
don't label me.
I don't know. I've always just been encouraged to like what I like, and I've never felt pressure.
I think that's probably the best. I think that's probably the best approach parents can have.
He's the golden boy.
No,
he's the fourth of the fourth.
Well, just the young.
You're the baby.
Exactly. Yeah.
Golden boy.
I get away with more because by the time your siblings are allowed to do things, take your brother with you. So you get the rules of the eldest.
Oldest of 3, you get all the responsibility, you get all the blame.
Mm-hmm.
You're just smart enough to get yourself out of it compared to the other kid. That's the only advantage I ever had, was being able to create. I wasn't. How could I have been? I was stuffing kitchen roll down the toilet. I couldn't have been setting fire to anything.
See, I'm in a different country to my little sisters, so.
To be honest, I am now, I guess. But
is that because you had them deported?
Yes. We don't tolerate those kinds of people around here.
But yeah,
ominous silence there. Yeah. That's kind of scary. We're loving Tracy.
All 3 of us were just trying to read Alice's face there to see just how earnest she was.
I guess I forget that I had a PS1 when I was a kid because my dad had one, but yeah, like other than that, it was just books that really got me into liking geek things.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, for me, it's definitely my mother's influence.
Yeah.
Basically, my mum and my dad split up when I was very small, so I grew up mostly just with my mum's influence, and it's because of her that I've seen films or that I did first see films like Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Star Wars. I'm pretty sure Mum must have introduced me to it, but we never had videos of it until I was much later on. We had it taped off of Sky TV. I can still remember where all the breaks are in episode 4. But my mum was never really a gamer. I got my uncle's old Atari, and then that's what kind of started me in games. But I was still an outdoorsy kid.
Yeah.
And then I got a Master System one Christmas, and then eventually a PS1. And my most kind of resounding memory of playing video games with my mum, I don't know if you guys will remember because it's pretty old now. Matt might remember.
Thanks. This is true though, actually.
Alien Trilogy on the PS1.
I just know about how bad it was supposed to be.
It was pretty horrendous, but you know, it was licensed. I'm pretty sure we were borrowing it from a friend. There was one mechanic in it that's persisted almost throughout all of the Alien games, which is the motion tracker. So if people who have seen the film will probably know, it's essentially just like a box with a little LED screen on it that flashes and beeps when something is moving close by, and it tells you the general direction of it. And as soon as that would start beeping, my mum would freak out and throw the controller at me and be like, "No, can't do it." So that's my resounding memory of playing video games with my mum.
Being beaten by PlayStation controllers.
Yeah, like literally threw it at my face.
You do it. I don't want to.
Yeah. Oh, I've got dishes to do or something like that. You know. But yeah, so I think that's passed down to both of my brothers. Although I get the feeling that I'm definitely the nerdiest of the three of us. But all of us are gamers. And my brothers, actually, because they have spare time and a bit of spare cash, they actually play games more than I do now.
I think my sisters are kind of like getting into games, but just in the way that the society in general is getting into games.
Like on their phone and stuff.
They play stuff on their phone, and then my younger sister was texting me the other day asking me about a Wii U, and I was saying, "Oh, there's this game and this game," just so excited, and she was like, "I really want Disney Infinity," and I'm like, "Shut up, you can't play that."
Disney Infinity apparently is actually quite good. I haven't played it,
but she's way too old for it.
I don't have the money to get the toys,
like,
but
you have to buy the toys.
The little Rocket Raccoon is
he's
so
really
cool.
Cute. I really like
him. Like they've got obviously a lot of the Marvel characters, but Star Wars is coming. It's like, I'm pretty sure they have announced that it's coming.
Yeah.
So
well, my sister's really into just like Disney films. So I think like half the appeal would be having like little Disney princesses and stuff.
Yeah.
But so like they're getting more accepting of games and stuff. And then they went to a family reunion thing that I wasn't at because I couldn't make it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Sophia, like she's playing games and stuff now for a living," and half the family were like, "That's awesome," and the other half were like, "Oh, that's not a job,b," and it's like, "Fuck you, you're not doing anything."
I can pay my rent.
Yeah.
I can pay my rent, and I'm happy to go to work.
Yeah.
What about you? You know. Okay, so do any of you guys think that this is something that you will try to instill in your kids? Or like Matt's parent, or
Who
like
says
Matt said,
kids, huh?
Yeah.
Or you know,
should you have any?
To be honest, I've thought more about how I would introduce a kid to video games than I have about actually having kids. Like, it's not really crossed my mind that
I'm
I want
actually
kids,
kind
but
of
if
the same.
I did, like, they're starting off on at least a PS1, like maybe even like a SNES or something like that. They're not getting
my best friend had a kid recently in the last couple of weeks, and it's my girlfriend is a nerd as well, and we went into mother care because we were like, well, we've got them something, but let's get them just a little bit more. And then there was like a baby grow that was R2D. It was an R2D2 baby grow. Like it's got obviously the markings on it, and then like a little baby beanie hat with the rotating head.
Do they do them for cats?
Oh god.
They probably do. I'm sure you could adapt it.
Yeah, I'll get the sewing machine out.
But I actually I really wanted to buy it, but then I had to remember, this isn't my child.
Yeah.
My best friend is arguably the other nerdy force that made me the monster I am today.
You should have just gone for it then. And then when you have a kid and the kid can't fit into it anymore, that's when you get it back.
I suppose, yeah. It's really more of an investment.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That won't be scary when you return home. So I saw this in the shop. We'll just put it in a club.
Yeah. But, yeah, so is this something that, do you like, or not even with your kids, like, do you like influencing people into being nerdy? Well, I know you dress your cat up.
So far.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like a lot of my friends are the type that they played games when they were younger, like with their older siblings or something, and then school kind of drills it out of people, because for a long time, there was, video games are for stupid people, or video games make you aggressive, blah blah, and so they just didn't really get around to playing them. And then the other night, like I was like, right, we're going to play some games. I took round my Xbox 360 to my friend's house and we drank gin and played. First of all, I wanted to show them Portal because Portal is arguably like my favourite game ever. And I took for granted that first-person shooters / puzzle games are not as intuitive to everyone.
Not necessarily.
Yeah,
like, there's
and
people
so
that get nauseous when they play them.
They were all very confused about the fact they couldn't see their character and like about which direction to point. And so we only got up to the bit where you get the orange half of the portal gun.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like,
Okay.
That's early.
They were doing great, but I can understand that it was maybe a bit of a tough game to go for initially, but I just wanted to show them it. And then I was like, oh, I have a different game that you guys might like. And I put on Battle Block Theatre, and within seconds, they were all just like, they loved it and they got it instantly, and we played that for a while. And so, like, then after that, they text me like, oh, I just dug out my old N64 and we're playing GoldenEye. And I'm like, yes, I love it. I love it.
I think Battle Block Theatre was the most recent game I played with Cara.
So fun.
I mean, Cara is, like I say, she's a nerd as well, but GoldenEye and Perfect Dark are kind of the last real experiences she's had with games. I think Nintendo, if you can give someone a modern Nintendo, that's, I think, the best introduction to gaming at the
things
time.
Like that, yeah. Zelda is a bit complicated, but you know.
Zelda can be. Plus, it's really slow to start, and you need to be invested in. You need to want to be invested in a game like Zelda. Whereas, things like Mario, even Mario Party.
Yeah, I got the new one the other day.
Cool.
So, what about you guys? Have you thought about how you'd introduce your kids to games?
I don't think about games. I'm going back to being raised in the country. That's a huge part. Just climbing trees and going on massive long bike rides and things like that. I do think about that, and I think of how much my kids are going to hate me teaching them the constellations of this and climbing up Munros.
They're going to hate you at the time, but I can promise you, when they reach like their mid-20s, they're going to appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, I hope so, and I assume so, because I like these things. I'm going to just do what I guess most parents do, and this is what I like. Try out, but I'm more wanting them to try as much as possible to find what they love doing. I
love the thought, and I think about it quite a lot. Cara vehemently hates football, like everything about it, and that's fair enough. I don't like a lot of the culture surrounding it, but whatever. But I love the thought of like our kids having to come to us and go, "Mum, Dad, I've joined a football team."
Like, oh, God.
And like my mum just gone, "No! What have we done?"
Who taught you this?
It's like the bit in Friends where like Phoebe's friend is like, "I'm straight," and she's like, "Do your parents know?" What about you, Alice?
I've not really given it much thought, but I feel like if it was me and Keith, they're not going to stand a chance.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be hated by everyone in school.
They'll have a DS in their lap the minute they're born.
Yep.
Just like, right, get on it.
They're going to know all
L2P!
L2P, baby.
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 Like, considering I'm a massive nerd just for like Star Trek, Star Wars and games and shit like that, and Keith's just like a puppy with hands that plays video games.
And you're also like a huge bookworm.
That's an interesting analogy. A puppy with hands.
Well, he likes chicken and he likes running around. And if you throw a ball, he'll catch it.
Okay.
He'll chase after it.
I'm kind of seeing
so
how
he's
this.
a puppy.
I'm
But
kind
he's
of.
got hands because he can play video games.
I just imagine the Facebook profile. Keith likes chicken running around.
Now I'm thinking of Todd from Scrubs where they pretend to throw the ball and he's like, "Did you just throw something?" And he's like, "Be right back." And it's just like wandering off and like, right, he's out of the way now.
See, it's like that. But
Yeah, but he comes back with a ball.
Yeah, he does.
That is literally what it's like. Like, you throw a ball and Keith will come back and be like, "Hey, you dropped this." Thanks.
Well, you just need to, if you're like in the middle of a particularly lengthy gaming session, you just need to teach him cookies.
Fetch
cookies.
Well, I think if I did that, he'd come back with Haribo just because he likes Haribo.
Well,
You need to train him better, Alice. What are you doing?
He is only a puppy. Like,
that's fair enough.
So yeah, sure, your babies would love video
I
games and running
imagine
around.
any product of us is just going to be a hyper thing that knows everything about Star Trek.
Can't wait.
It's unfortunate, really.
You'll be born with a fedora.
God, don't insult Alice. She's right here.
Just knows everything about Star Trek.
Well, you know, we're
Really?
nice too. We're nice people.
Jesus.
Yeah, basically Cara and I are in the same kind of field of thought. I think just if we have a kid, that kid is not going to stand a chance. It's
Hey, nerds are running the world. Like,
Well, that's
it's the
true.
Best thing you can do. if
That's
you
true. You generally have a rougher adolescence, and then you
Even now, though, I think times are changing. Like, it's not lame to like video games anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to like video games.
I mean, you see people walking around with a T-shirt that says "geek" on it.
Oh god, I hate that shit.
It's like, wait, do you even know what that means?
Yeah, wearing like the fake geek glasses and stuff is silly.
I hate to take that kind of mentality. It's like, no, you're not a geek. I'm a geek.
It just like
But
the need to write that label on yourself. Like I'll refer to geek culture and stuff, and I know that in relation to other people, I'm a geek, but I just think it's silly to walk around with that written on yourself.
It is, yeah.
It's
Like-
not a geek thing to do.
Yeah,
You're
like, that's
instantly,
just-
the
Yeah.
opposite of what you're aiming to be.
I
Yeah.
like the thought of people walking around with like sports, like a jacket that just says sports
We
team.
like sports and we don't care who knows.
Yeah.
Anyone? No.
No.
Lonely Island.
I'll put it. Yeah.
Lonely Island.
I'll put it in the blog.
Cool. So yeah. So moving on from there, what's everyone been playing in the last couple of weeks?
Well, what have you been playing?
I've been playing. Well, I've played and finished Alien Isolation. That game is awesome. It's actually what made me want to talk about our parents' influence and stuff, because that memory of playing it with my mum,
Yeah.
it kind of made me wish that she was sat there watching me play it,
She would
because
have had no chance in Alien Isolation.
no way, because that game is bloody creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I insist on playing games like that with my headphones on and in pitch darkness, preferably knowing that no one's going to interrupt me.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Especially because I know that if Cara like tapped me on the shoulder during one of the more tense moments, I'm jumping out of my skin.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game itself, it takes a little while to get started, but it's gorgeous, and you get a feeling for the world that you're in. It feels like you've stepped back into a movie set from one of the old Alien films. Everything has a really. Have any of you guys played it?
No.
But I've seen YouTube.
What was that?
Yes, yeah, I have.
Everything has a really kind of like a functional kind of almost chunky feel. Like everything is a big button or like a massive lever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, even the save. Is that not almost
Yeah.
like a punch-in card?
yeah, it's like a
At
punch
work?
card,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
And
fantastic.
everything's LCD monitors, and just everything about it. It's fantastic. The sound design is probably the best thing about it.
Well, sound makes horror movies for sure.
Well, just to
Absolutely.
say that,
Same
everything
for-
you're saying
for
is just
games.
the hallmarks of a good thriller or horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, what I've learned through my course is that aesthetic doesn't refer solely to how something looks.
Yeah.
It's more about how something feels.
Mm-hmm.
And that game, it was amazing because they managed to evoke the movies, but not by sacrificing anything. Everything works perfectly. Everything's a little bit slow,
Yeah.
like technology back then was, everything only has one function. It's not like an iPod that you can use for everything.
Yeah.
But the feeling of being stalked, like you don't actually start being stalked until, well, for me it was maybe 2 or 3 hours into the game.
Yeah.
You come across human enemies first, then these androids called Working Joes that are
They creep me out.
We kind
really
of spoke
creepy.
about this in the second episode because
Yeah.
I was listening to it last night, so this is all a very familiar
Yeah.
conversation.
So they're pretty creepy themselves, but the alien, like, basically the last time we spoke about it, I hadn't really started being stalked yet,
Yeah.
and that is kind of at the centre of the game, is when you do not feel control at any time. All you can do is kind of nip between cover and hope that it doesn't drop out of a vent right in front of you. the atmosphere is perfect, and I really couldn't recommend the game enough to fans of not only the films but also kind of horror in general.
So you compare it a lot to the film. Like, would you say that this game, or any game in general, would you say there's a game you've played that would rival an Oscar-winning movie, for instance? Like, are we at that point yet where a movie could be at the same level of like writing and cinematography?
I don't think the
film?
writing's there.
Uh-huh.
The one criticism I do have of the game is that you backtrack a lot.
Would you say there's any game you could think of that would win an Oscar?
That's a tricky one.
Because I tried to think of it, and there's lots of games that have fantastic writing, but they don't. It's not the same as a movie because it's more like it encourages you to think for yourself about it. Where a movie is the director is wanting you to see what he thinks.
I think a lot of the games that we might like makes you fill in the gaps with maybe context.
Yeah.
You know, how you find an item, like say you find someone's notebook at the back of a bear's cave, and you've put it together that they came in here for some reason and a bear killed them or whatever. I don't know. Game writing has definitely come on a lot.
Yeah. I guess it's completely different because you're telling a story over anywhere between 2 and 40 hours, whereas a movie is generally below 2.
I mean, you look at games like Journey.
Yeah.
That have no dialogue whatsoever and still tell a beautiful story.
Yeah, Matt's played lots of Journey.
I was thinking about Journey and talking about it on this podcast this morning, just about the way that we play games, or the games that I've been playing recently, and the free flowing, because Journey feels free flowing, but it's also completely you're pulled along a certain line that's not actually free flowing. You're going from point A to B, trying to find random points all the way along to increase that scarf length and things like that. But it's so emotional, and the fact that you can only communicate to other players
with beeps and boops. Yeah.
I'd say like it definitely in recent years, but there's been more games I've cried at than there has been films.
Walking Dead is really the one
Walking
that
Dead, Telltale,
that pushes that. But then you got to wonder what that game would lose if you couldn't interact with it. If all you were doing was making the choices, maybe, and it removed the game element altogether.
I think it would lose a lot because I think that's the reason you're so attached to the characters, because you're in, for instance, the first season, you're in Lee's head and you're making his decisions for him, and so like, not to spoil anything because I know that Alice and Matt haven't played it, but like the ending wouldn't be half as emotional if it wasn't you like influencing him the whole way. Like obviously there's things you can't change, but either way it's still you.
You
like,
genuinely feel responsible for the product.
And you make connections with all the characters and stuff, and like it just wouldn't be the same if you're just sitting and watching it.
Considering how little those games cost, I can't recommend them enough.
I'm sure I have them.
I think I
Again,
remember you buying them and we're saying to you, you need to play it.
Matt told me today that he nearly played Skyrim last night and decided not to bother.
It is a commitment.
There's a good reason, we'll get to that later.
Is it because you don't want this to become the Skyrim cast? Because I'm worried that it would. I can talk about Skyrim for a long time, and I think everyone might be able to.
No, no, simply it wasn't.
Okay.
But are we done with Alien? I feel
well,
bad.
I was gonna say, like, Alice, have you played any like Oscar-winning movies? And played games that could be an Oscar-winning movie.
Well, I was gonna suggest Never Alone.
I don't think I played that. Oh, it's the one with the little fox, isn't it?
It's an Inuit, I think, folk tale about the girl and her Arctic fox, and it had like local co-op. So I was on the keyboard and Keith was on the gamepad, and he went the fox, like who is a spirit that's protecting you the whole way. So he had to manipulate platforms and stuff so that I could traverse.
Yeah, I like games like that, sort of asymmetric.
Yeah, so we relied completely on each other, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And cute fox. But the whole thing is narrated in their native language.
Oh, that's
so
really
interesting. Is it with subtitles?
Yeah, you need to have subtitles on. So yeah, it's kind of movie-ish because you are just progressing through the tale.
But again, it's
being told to you.
Yeah, but I guess it would also be like if you weren't there controlling it, it wouldn't have half the impact because you're not like having to rely on.
And
someone.
it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly white.
Yeah.
But it's really cool.
Nice.
And it's like we got to a bit that Keith told me was going to happen, and I was like, yeah, I know it's going to happen, but I'm going to deny it anyway. and it goes all Tale of Two Sons-y, and
No.
I'm like, no, why is it happening to me
I
again?
totally forgot about Brothers. Like, that's a game with zero dialogue,
Yeah.
and Jesus, that game
Yep.
destroyed me. Like, it's an amazing game. Don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't played it, but gorgeous game, and it just shows like dialogue doesn't have to be the thing that tells the story. It's more the mechanics and the gameplay that tell the story and make it moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to what we've played recently. I kind of went on a tangent there.
Well, this is why I didn't want to cut off of Alien, but why I didn't play Skyrim last night was because I decided to get back into Kerbal Space Program.
Oh, nice.
I figured after the eclipse we just had, I was thinking, it was on my mind. So I got I tried to get the 64-bit version, but it wouldn't get past the loading screen for some reason, and it does say it's dodgy, so I went to the regular version, and
is it still in beta?
Yes.
Yeah.
When you say still, it only just went into beta.
Oh, right.
It was in alpha for a long, long time.
Okay. I just remember seeing that price jump when...
Yeah. No, I've owned that for a very long time and played it. So long ago that I last played it that I kind of forgot all the buttons and how to set maneuvers and change my apoapsis and periapsis and all this thing. And yeah, I just ran out of fuel twice. Although the gauge did lie to me, so that's why. There's a simple element I'm forgetting how to play that game. But so I sent up a kind of Sputnik looking thing just to try and get some recon on the moon before I send my guys up there. But I didn't even get that far.
Aww.
But it was fun, really good fun.
Would it be cheating if I was to play that game with my astronomy textbooks next to me and be like, right, this
No,
is how
not
much
at
fuel
all.
I need for this size of spaceship?
No, but if you take I went into sandbox mode just to get straight on with going to the moon, because I kind of want to go and visit the area that Neil Armstrong landed on, because they've got a temple monument thing there supposedly at the accurate at the accurate coordinates, and I just thought that would be really nice to get a successful return voyage. I think I've done it once. I've definitely navigated around the moon and come back, but I don't know if I've got a successful landing, explored and then gone home. I'd love to do that. Yeah, it's great fun. I completely phased out of what I was going to say there. Yeah, good times. Oh no, that was it. I would make a better farmer than a NASA engineer for sure. I can build a Minecraft farm. It's as complex as all you like, but no, I can't get to the moon.
Cool.
I think that sounds quite reasonable, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think most
I'm
people would
happy
be
with
better
that. I love
farmers than
farming. It's
astronauts.
Yeah, you don't hear many people. Oh, come on, it's easy. It's not exactly farming.
That's a fair point.
I know we both have been playing a bit of Besieged. You more than me.
But I think possibly you more than me. You're further on in the game. I replay levels trying to mess some things up a bit more.
Yeah. I just find myself laughing quite a lot. So Besieged is a game. I don't know. Have you guys seen?
I've seen
I've
like
seen
a few
it.
videos of it.
It's good fun. It's basically you play with machinery, making these siege engines to do specific tasks, and you get flying ones, and it's all a bit ridiculous, and it's an approximation of physics, you could say.
I knocked the table.
It's okay, we have a cushion. But yeah, so you kind of have a more methodical approach to it, and I think you like to be as efficient as possible.
No, I like to cause the most amount of destruction. I won't be happy if there's a little guy running around
A little
that's
sheep
not been
running.
burnt, or a sheep.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it reminds me of it's just like Kerbal. Make your own siege engine for various scenarios and go to work. And it's incredible fun. I like making stylized siege engines though, and YouTube's filled with facehugger variants or compactor versions. It's loads of fun.
Yeah, I just like the one where I had to kill a bunch of people, so I built one that was just essentially a platform with wheels and flamethrowers and some knives, and you just drive back and forward.
The flamethrowers are dangerous though, because they'll burn your siege engine.
Yeah, but the siege engine doesn't need to survive. You just need to do as much damage as possible.
See, that's a prerequisite for me. It's got to make it out of there alive in one piece. Yeah,
Another layer of difficulty.
Well, it has. It just. I never even considered that it didn't seem like a victory for me if it didn't make it out of there.
I just stuck a bunch of saw blades on the side, so it's very difficult to approach it. and just drove it back and forward over the bad guys. No grace or finesse to it.
Well, there isn't any in war, you could say.
Anyone else been playing anything?
I also finally finished L.A. Noire.
Oh wow! I
Yeah.
didn't even know you were playing
What
it.
was it, 3 years since you
Yeah.
started it?
I started playing it in March 2013
Wow.
and only played it in March 2013. And
Okay.
then I happened to pick it up again in March 2014. And then I was like, well, now I can't play it again until next year.
I remember
Right,
you saying this
okay.
before, yeah.
March 2015, it's done.
Okay.
And I'm sat there and I'm watching the ending scene, and then the credits roll up, and I'm like, I know someone who worked on this.
Oh yeah. I know.
Screenshots!
I know a few people who worked on it too. It's pretty cool
we
to see
worked
that.
with someone who worked on it.
Oh.
Who is in the
the guy
credits.
who used to work at Rockstar, who's on our team.
Oh well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I know it was Team Bondi that did a lot of it, and Rockstar had to go out to kind of bail them out
Well,
in
there's a
production.
screenshot of our colleague's name
Okay.
in my Steam profile.
Oh,
So I
cool.
was like, oh, I'm so proud. So proud of him.
Before you knew him.
Yeah.
We're very delicately skirting the actual
Yeah.
experience
we don't
here.
want to. Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed the vast majority of L.A. Noire
Yeah.
when I played it. The facial animation stuff, I honestly think was ahead of its time.
Yeah, I mean, it
That
took
was
a
kind
bit
of what they
getting used
focused on,
to.
though, isn't it?
Yeah, at the expense of a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
everything else. I mean, it wasn't buggy.
Not
But,
particularly, no.
I still haven't played it. It's a game that has been sitting in my Steam library for years, and I've been meaning to pick it up on Xbox because like my computer's crap at the moment, and I just never got around to it.
It's good. I'd say the story's pretty good.
I know I'd like it.
The main
it's just sitting there, not doing.
The actual characters are pretty well
Yeah.
done, all things considered.
And also, it's kind of unique just because of the time that it's set in.
Yeah.
There wasn't really anything else. Although I have started playing Mafia 2.
I was about to say,
Mafia-
like Mafia 2.
Mafia 2, I did not expect to be as good as it
I
is.
know.
'Cause
You
Mafia
could
1
be in
is a
for a
bit
treat
shit.
there.
I know, because I started playing it and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a gangster for a bit. And then it goes into this whole big backstory, and I'm like, this is going to be sad at some point, isn't it?
The shooting mechanics are like the gameplay I found surprisingly good, and it feels really satisfying. It's unlike Grand Theft Auto. It feels like if you hit something with the car in the 50s, you're going to do some damage.
I've
Yeah.
managed
Nice.
not to hit anything yet.
Wow,
Yeah.
that
I'm
is
an excellent
impressive.
driver.
Backtracking slightly to L.A. Noire, like an interesting thing about the facial animation work is Rockstar made a game called Rockstar Table Tennis that they
Yeah.
made purely just to work on facial expressions and stuff, and it turned out to be a great little table tennis game. But it's just like they made it just because they were like, oh well, we can use this to work on.
It
other
was
stuff.
kind of a cult hit, that game.
Yeah, lots
Some
of
people
really
loved it.
liked
I've never heard of it.
It was
Sounds
like
cool.
I think it was around. It was. I don't think it was a launch title, but it might have been. It was certainly very early in the 360's
Yeah.
development. I think it was 360 exclusive as well. But yeah, Mafia 2 I really enjoyed. I think I remember enjoying it,
Yeah.
and that is a surprise because I didn't expect that much of it. I just thought it was another GTA clone,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it's good.
Mafia 1 was kind of shit, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like I
I've
really
not
didn't
played
like
the
it.
first one.
They have a level right at the start where it's like, oh, you have to abide by the traffic laws, and it's like, fucking no.
Well, the thing about the driving that I do like is the fact that you can limit your speed just by pushing a button.
Oh, that's
so you, because you get a ticket for speeding and
Yeah.
stuff. So the
That
fact
seems
that you
a
can
bit
just
cheaty.
push that and then be like,
Well, no, because it's not the same. You've got to have
Yeah.
such fidelity. I hate that when you're trying to
yeah.
obey the law in Grand Theft Auto or something like that. Just for the sake of it, because you've
Especially,
done everything else.
especially if you're playing on PC and you
Yeah.
don't have pressure
Yeah.
sensitive
Yeah.
And like
control.
in Sleeping Dogs, there's that achievement where you drive for 2 minutes without hitting anything. And
I came so close.
I did it. I fucking did
I
it.
got it and I was like, that's a thing.
You need to take the highway, I think.
I did.
to
Yeah,
get
I just
that.
went around the highway lots and lots, just pressing so lightly on the controller. So if there was a limiting speed
Yeah.
mechanic in that, that would just be cheating.
Yeah. That was another kind of game that I assumed would be a rip-off
Yeah,
of
I
GTA.
loved
And
Sleeping
was
Dogs.
surprisingly
Yeah,
good.
that was a great game.
I never played the DLC that apparently was just Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
play DLC either.
There was a
Um,
Halloween like spooky one as well.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking. Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China's Kurt Russell. It's kind of supernatural. It's a John Carpenter film. It's a really good one. I'd recommend it. But cool,
Yeah.
cool. So you enjoyed L.A. Noire overall, or
Yeah. I mean, it was a bit. It was a bit weird to start off with, just to get used to the facial stuff and just like the whole trying to work out if they're doubting, like if you have to doubt them or if they're lying.
Yeah.
And then you get to someone who is lying, and you're like, okay, so that's what that looks like.
Yeah.
It's really super obvious.
The interrogation bit, I wasn't quite sure what to make of it, but it's uncanny valley stuff. You're never going to be able to recreate an actual human person's reaction.
Well, not yet.
Yeah.
It's
Not
coming.
yet, but with time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I guess like completely contrast that. I've been playing loads of Pokemon.
Oh,
It's,
cool.
Like, loads and loads. Like,
EVs.
yeah, like, and it's not even the storyline. I completed that story months ago, and I've just been putting more and more hours into it. And
more
like,
and more EVs into it.
yeah, I'll get to that. Like, basically, I would say the Pokemon game I played the most was maybe Pokemon Black, just because it was such a good one on the DS. But then I got 80 hours in that, and I'm now up to like 85 in Pokemon Omega Ruby, and I've only had it since Christmas.
Do they have much of a story? I know there is characters and stuff.
Yeah, like there's a storyline.
Okay.
And like, yes, it was a remaster, this one, but I think it's an insult to call it a remaster because they completely remade that game. It's basically the storyline.
Well, it now has 3D animations and
3D
everything.
animations, like there's new types of Pokemon. There was a whole like after story as well, which completely like wrapped up. It explains so much about the Pokemon universe, which I won't go into. I'll maybe put a video in the blog that explains it much better. But it was just a fantastic game, and I've just been like doing the post-game stuff, like breeding Pokemon and and battling. And as Alice was hinting at, I have made a team that are just evolutions, and I've just been playing with those, and that is how I've been spending my days.
See, is the Eevee unique in that it has many?
Yeah, it can evolve from one thing to multiple different things, whereas most Pokemon go down one route.
Well, because I know most of them only have three iterations, right?
Well, most Pokemon
like
go
tiers.
from one to another, but Eevee can go from one, and then depending on what you do with it, it can go 8 different ways.
Christ, this sounds like Chocobo breeding in Final Fantasy VII.
It gets a bit confusing if you're not familiar with it.
You've
so
got
I
to
won't
give
go
it the
into
right
but-
food and stuff.
Yes.
Oh,
But
I hated Chocobo breeding.
Chocobos! They're the best.
But yeah,
Wow.
so I've just been playing loads of Pokemon. I've probably played other things. I can't. Nothing comes to mind at the moment. Like it kind of stuck out that much.
The
if I can't
thing
remember it.
that blew my mind about the new Pokemon,
Mhm.
you can sit in chairs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
you can
walked
sit
into
in-
someone's house and I just kind of randomly sat down in a chair and I was like,
Well, it's because
how do I get out of
in
this?
previous Pokemon games, you were just a little sprite that was basically a face with feet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now you're like an actual character model that walks around and stuff. And so,
Yeah.
like before, you could pretend to sit in chairs because it would just kind of look like it if
Yeah,
you
you just
positioned
stand on
yourself
top
over
of
the
the
chair.
chair.
And now you walk up to it and they like go doodle and sit down in it, and it's just.
And then you can like talk to people while sitting in a chair.
This does
Little
make me
things
think
like
a little
that,
bit of
like-
Skyrim though, when it's like you can sit on this bench.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's just
great.
when can I get up yet?
It's just a really great game, and I've said it before, I've said it many times, Nintendo are just great at remaking games. Like, yes, they get a lot of flack for it, but they do it so well that, you know, they've remade the game, so I've just been loving it.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo in particular, you know, when they go back to a game, it's because people want it.
Yeah.
It's not just because
Exactly,
they
it's
need
for
the
a
money.
reason.
Like, I don't want to slag off Double Fine, but the Grim Fandango remaster is just, they've upgraded the character textures.
Have you played it?
I've been watching some videos of it, but, like, everything else is how the game used to be.
I mean-
It's just the character models are new, and, like, that, yes, it's a remaster, but it then insults games like the new Pokemon where they've redone everything.
I don't know. I think I kind of respect what they decided to do was to keep it as close to the original.
Well, sure.
I hate to use the phrase original vision.
Sure, but I wouldn't call it a remaster, I'd call it a re-release.
Well,
know?
you know, I can see where you're coming from with that.
Like, it's a great game and stuff, and it looks awesome, and I can't wait to play it fully for myself. But it's you know, they've not done much to it. It's
there is
nothing
now
new.
a brand new orchestral score over it.
Yeah,
And
but you know, that's not making the game. That's adding stuff to the
oh,
background of it.
of course. But then they've also they've done commentaries over it as well.
Yeah, that is one thing that I'm really excited to listen to because I think it'd be really interesting to hear
'Cause-
Tim Schafer talk about it.
Yeah, because I love listening to Tim Schafer talk about games, and even though it's a bit like Molyneux, we discussed this as well.
Yeah.
You know, as much as I love his games, never let that man run a company.
Yeah, but
What?
fucking Broken Age Part 2 got announced. Like, we spoke in the second episode about how Broken Age Part 1, we were excited about it, but we don't want half game. It got announced that they're actually releasing the second one at the end of April. So, like, you know, he did it. He kept his promise, and that's such a rare thing to see these days, that people have kept to their promise.
Considering how much I think they're going to have to rely on Kickstarter, because if they want to keep making adventure games, a studio isn't really going to want to take that on, especially with the way they've kind of dealt with Broken Age.
Well, yeah, but like people have enjoyed Broken Age.
Absolutely.
And I think, well, it's not like you have to pay extra for the second part. If you already own the first part, it's free.
Yeah.
So that's good that they're not just raking more money out of people. And people like Double Fine games, you know.
Yeah,
so,
I absolutely do as well.
That's like, I hate to say it, but maybe Grim Fandango was kind of like a way to bring in some more money with very little output of money.
I think you're probably right.
Because let's be honest, they didn't really need to do much to put it out again.
That's true, but
So,
then
like,
if you
it's what
consider
to do.
that it was impossible to get.
Yeah, well, that's what kind of that's what
I'm excited about, getting to experience it. I only ever played the demo of the original, so I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. We're actually just coming up on an hour soon.
Wow. This was just the games podcast.
Yeah, pretty
to be
much.
honest, I haven't watched any movies. I don't know about anyone else. I haven't watched anything.
I've just been watching American Horror Story, so
Care to weigh in on American Horror Story?
just the second season is harrowing.
Okay.
The first season was fine, like completely fine. Like, I'm sometimes a wuss when I'm watching scary stuff, and like I watched episode 1 of season 1, like, this is going to be scary, and it wasn't.
Is it particularly gory or is it just creepy?
Is it a spooky haunted house kind of thing for season 1, isn't it?
Yeah, the first one's just spooky haunted house, but like the ghosts are people, so like it's not so scary because they're like fleshed out characters and there's nothing like unknown that's terrifying about it. But the second season is just like really, I don't even know, like it's gory, and then the doctor cuts off a woman's legs just because, and tries to butt rape her. It's like, is this actually going to happen? Because this old guy is in a lot of things as the nice old guy, and he's about to butt rape a woman. It's like, this is really
I just remembered what season 2 is.
That is a good way of avoiding being typecast, I'll be honest.
Because like, it's just like, I'm sure he does a lot of voice acting as well as just the nice old narrator, and he's just horrifying.
Are you going to have like flashbacks whenever you see him and stuff?
Watching like Babe, and you're just like, no!
He's just horrifying.
It's the guy from Babe.
Yeah, the farmer.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And he's cutting women's legs off.
Does he at any point say, "That'll do, pig,
Oh,
that'll
God.
do"?
What a crossover.
He's just calling everyone a whore and
Babe Triple X.
I'm not linking to that.
And the guy from Maroon 5's randomly in the first couple of episodes.
Ugh.
That's a bit weird.
I wouldn't know that, but it's a good season. Season 3 is kind of fun. That's the witch coven as well. It's quite fun. Although, as with all American Horror Stories, the intro credits are a lot cooler than the content of the episodes.
I have to skip through the intro credits because they creep me out. It's the noise, like the white noise.
Why do you keep watching it if it creeps you out?
Because I can skip the credits.
No, but the show, you said you were watching
Because it's got Evan Peters in it.
Oh, for God's
So
sake!
it's like X-Men.
We've come to the crux of the matter. I think.
Ian said that I should at least watch seasons 2 and 3 because I was only going to watch season 1, and I've started watching season 2, and I'm like, oh my God.
I've seen an episode where Ian McShane plays Santa, and that seemed really timid, and I was like, oh right, okay, so that's what this show is. But apparently I've misjudged it.
Okay.
He doesn't play Santa, he plays like a Santa. Like he dresses up like Santa. It's weird.
Santa, I know him.
What?
Santa! I know him.
Oh,
Real
right.
Santa, right?
Yeah, like, obviously it's not the... Anyway.
I don't think Will Ferrell's in it. Well, I actually watched the first episode of Black Mirror.
Black Mirror is
That's
great.
supposed to be creepy.
It's awesome.
It's kind of Twilight Zone-y apparently, but the first episode I watched.
Is that the one with the Prime Minister?
Prime Minister and
God,
the pig.
That one is just disturbing, but it is eye-opening, I guess.
Yeah.
there's an episode. I've watched a few of them. I haven't watched them all in order just because I felt like just picking and choosing which ones to watch. I also watched one where it's like they have an implant in their brain that records all their memories.
Mm-hmm.
That one's a really great episode. And there's one where life can be preserved in like a robot, and it uses like everything he's ever written online to create this personality. Yeah, that's a good one as well. And it's the guy who plays the robot guy is actually now in Ex Machina. Yeah, it's him. So.
All right, cool. I still need to see Ex Machina because it's Alex Garland that wrote and directed it, and he was the guy that directed Dredd, which I really loved that film.
Yeah,
so
I want you to go and see it.
I haven't moved out the city. We don't have a nearby cinema, sadly. So might just need to wait till movies come out before I can see them.
To be honest, I've gotten into the habit of waiting till things are on Netflix because movies are expensive.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Netflix, I watched The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that.
No,
It's a new Netflix original. It's a Tina Fey project actually.
Yeah,
she
meaning to
co-wrote
watch
it.
it because it's Tina Fey.
Yeah, because 30 Rock was. It's really sad that it didn't get the airtime it deserved. I honestly think it was too smart for its own good, in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's good. The first episode, when you're kind of introduced to the central premise and the characters, they all seem annoying. Like. You can't imagine liking any of them. Yeah. But as you kind of get to episode 3, that show becomes a lot more enjoyable, and it's not just a bunch of tossers basically.
I kind of felt that with BoJack Horseman, another Netflix original. Like the first episode, I was like, this is like weird.
Yeah,
kind of
I was the same.
And then it's really good. I know you haven't finished watching it.
I've only seen the first season, the first episode. Sorry.
You need to watch the rest of it because it's really, really.
I mean,
good.
the thing is, I love Will Arnett. Like
the animation style took me a little while to get used to because it just because it's a show about a 90s like washed up actor, so they kind of did it in a 90s cartoon style. But yeah, it's a great show.
That's the one style of animation I hate.
See,
it's
really
that's going to hold me back.
To get past,
I can imagine it being on
good.
MTV in the 90s.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think they did that intentionally, and once you get past it, it's just a great show.
Cool. Other than that, just a little bit of movie news coming up. Did any of you guys read Ready Player One?
No, that's been sitting on my Amazon wish list for a long time. That is,
as a nerd, that is a definite read.
Yeah.
It's essentially like it's not post-apocalyptic. It's more like a 1984 kind of scenario. Big evil corporations, but basically keeping them, like the man is keeping you down kind of thing. And a lot of people use video games and virtual reality to escape it.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool story. I won't really give anything else away.
I just wish Ernest Cline didn't seem like such a prick.
Does he?
I've seen him in a lot of being interviewed for a lot of things, and it just seems like such a pretentious arsehole.
That's
but like I'm
unfortunate.
sure like I can get past it.
You could always read Bedlam instead.
Is that kind of the same thing?
Well, it's like Christopher Brookmeyer.
All right. Okay. Oh yeah. That was his recent one.
Book that there's also a
yeah, I know the one you mean.
So basically, it's about a guy who gets like scanned into a thing, and then he's like in a game.
Cool. And
he has to escape that game, but then he's in a different game.
So then, is the game you play of the game he's in, like the one that you played on Steam?
All of the games.
Okay.
That's meta.
Yeah. So that's kind of like
that's
he's
Tron.
Yeah, kind of.
In like some sci-fi game, and then he ends up in like Pac-Man.
Well, that's Wreck-It Ralph.
Assassin's Creed.
It's Wreck-It Ralph.
Shit like that, and it's really cool.
Awesome.
So I hadn't heard of that book, but are you about to say about Steven Spielberg?
Steven Spielberg has been brought on to direct.
I noticed that.
Which is really good because it's going to give it. I mean, it's a bestseller, but it's going to give it a bit of clout, and it's going to give it a bit of kind of professional respect, you could say, to have a name like that attached to it. And Spielberg loves video games. I don't know if any of you guys ever played Boom Blocks on the Wii.
No.
It's kind of like a digital Jenga kind of thing.
Yeah, Spielberg likes movies, but he also allowed E.T. to happen on the Atari. He played it and he was like, this is a great game.
I get the feeling it might have been taken out of his hands a little bit.
I watched the documentary on E.T., so like I saw a bit of what the creators thought of it, and also just like I think Spielberg was forced to say that he liked it because they're on such a strict deadline. But yeah.
Cool. Well, we're coming up on an hour now, so I think we'll maybe call that an end for episode 4. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. And you can follow us on Facebook at Splitting Pixels. Any questions or anything you'd like to say to us, please keep it friendly. Can be sent to splittingpixelspod@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Twitter at Sophia.
I think it's Splitting Pix Pod. I'm not sure, and we'll put links everywhere that this is. There'll be links everywhere.
Yes, and we'll have a blog for this episode going up as well. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.